Yes, as a teacher and as a student, I understand, which is why I made this video. After you finish watching this video, I'm hoping that you will be able to adjust your teaching or learning paradigm to reduce the occurrence of this issue. So, let's get to it. To address this question, I first want to bring to light another observation. Typically, snare drummers are much more accomplished at understanding technique and rhythms, more so than quad drummers. Sometimes quad drummers are better at it, but this is the exception, not the rule. So, why is this? It's not as if technique and rhythms used for snare and quad drumming are juxtaposed. Both use the same 3 hinges, both use the same, if not very similar, fulcrum, and both certainly play with the same interpretation of rhythms. The primary reason for this phenomenon is that snare drummers are not presented the same temptations for adjusting that quad drummers have. Allow me to explain. Snare drummers only have a single surface, pitch, and tension to learn on. Their technique is limited to only the vertical properties, and the way their drum responds is generally consistent. This allows them to work on their fundamentals and directly apply it to context. On top of that, snare drums only produce one general pitch. This allows snare drummers to train their ears to listen for right hand to left hand balance, rhythmic consistency, space, and overall sound quality. To summarize, the nature of the snare drum allows performers to direct their focus to fundamentals and rhythms without any other distractions. Now for quad drummers, none of this really applies. Quad drummers have multiple surfaces with multiple pitches, multiple tensions at multiple locations. Their technique extends to the horizontal properties as well as the vertical properties, and the way each drum responds is different. This does not guarantee that their work on fundamentals will directly apply in context, especially if those fundamentals are one drum focused. Since the quad drums produce multiple pitches, quad drummers can easily get distracted from the rhythms and sound quality they are producing. I often encounter students that predominantly hear the pitch changes. This makes it difficult for them to analyze sound quality and rhythms, thus making it harder for them to analyze and improve themselves. On top of all of that, each drum holds a different response. To take the extremes as examples, the Spock drums have significantly more rebound than drum 4. This is something quad drummers have to take into account because, for example, a forte roll is going to be much easier to play on a Spock than on drum 4. If you never allowed quad players to ever play rounds, I would postulate that they would achieve technique and rhythmic accuracy at the same level as snare drummers. Now, with all of that being said, we can examine why quads are worse when they shift to the arounds. A couple of minutes ago, we said that quads are worse on the arounds because they are presented more temptations to adjust. Let's determine and examine these temptations. First, let's talk about the horizontal property. When quad drummers are learning to move around the drums, their initial tendency is to hold onto the stick more. This is a natural response to using larger muscle groups and to ensure control over the stick. But when they hold onto the stick more, they lose the ability to rebound the stick and move it naturally. This loss is reflected in their sound quality and their rhythms. Their sound quality suffers because they are choking the stick more, and their rhythms are distorted because their stick is not moving as smoothly as it was on one drum. And the worst realization is that because you're covering more distance when moving around the drums, that requires you to move your stick smoother. If you start breaking the motion of the stick, you're introducing the opportunity to open up the rhythms and add tension to your technique, both of which are bad. Second, young quad drummers don't understand that certain rounds require more energy than others. When traveling larger distances at faster tempos, we must put more energy into our motion. We can play a rudiment on one drum with minimal energy, but when we move that rudiment, we must add the appropriate energy to play the rounds without disturbing the rhythms. Inexperienced quad drummers typically do one of two things. They either don't add enough energy and let the rhythms and sound quality suffer, or they add the wrong kind of energy and add tension to their vertical technique, therefore causing bad sounds. So with all of that being said, how do you fix this problem? Play it slow on the rounds. When you add the rounds slow, you don't have to add much energy to keep the rhythms in time. You can play the rounds close to how you would play it on one drum, which is what you want. Once you figure out how to do that, take the tempos up little by little. Realize how speeding up the rounds disturbs the rhythm and start to experiment with how much horizontal velocity you must add to keep the rhythms and sound quality the same. As you speed up, you can't treat the rudiments differently. The natural tendency will be to squeeze, but you have to resist so that you don't choke off the sound. This is really the only way to fix the problem well. There are shortcuts, but you'll always have to compromise. But as a quad player, we have to minimize the compromise. There is often a stigma with quad players where we have to sacrifice quality for rounds. If practiced the wrong way, yes, that is what happens. But this is more of an excuse than a valid reason. It is very much possible to play harder, faster rounds with good quality. And really, taking it slow is the only way to figure out what you are doing. If you can't understand what you're doing at a slower tempo, then taking it faster and faster will only magnify that issue. Take it slow so that you understand every aspect of what you are doing when you start moving it on the rounds, and then take the tempos up little by little so that you understand exactly what you're doing at the faster tempos. So after all of that, what do you think? Did I leave out something? Do you disagree? If you do, let me know in the comments down below. Or if you like the video, hit that like button and subscribe to be the first to see the next video. Until next time, happy drumming.